The almighty Bobby Lashley is apparently on his way out the door of WWE. His contract is set to expire. Apparently, he was offered a new contract, but he has not re-signed and apparently does not intend to re-sign. He has been removed from the internal roster for WWE, this according to Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful. And it appears MVP is going to be leaving right along with him. MVP also on his way out the door, not renewing a contract or not getting offered a new one, whatever the case may be. His contract is up soon too, which obviously begs the question, where are we going to see the Hurt Business now outside of WWE? We have Shelton Benjamin, also a free agent. This shit writes itself. For more on that opinion, let's hop over to this clip here from Simon Miller over at What Culture Wrestling, giving his 2 cents.
As they are both leaving the company and they have been both taken off the internal roster within WWE, so they must presume that either they don't want to offer them a new contract or they're not going to accept a new contract. The question has to be, where the flub do they go next? And do you know what the answer actually is? It doesn't matter. And that's because there's something bigger at play here, and that is the fact that Shelton Benjamin is a free cat, right? He got released 6 months ago, 4 months ago, whenever the hell it is. I like Shelton Benjamin. He's a really good dude. But it means we do have 3 members of the original Hurt Business out there in the wild. They have to get back together, and somebody has to go throw a bunch of cash at them. Because if you go through that, I'm pretty sure they started in the pandemic era, or whatever the hell their run was. We did not do enough with them. And I saw an interview with Shelton Benjamin recently where I swear he went to Vince McMahon once, and Vince said, "We've done all we can do with you," which is nuts. We'd barely scratched the surface. Actually, it's probably a group that came a bit too early, because if they had somehow been put together in the new era of WWE, you look at Judgment Day, you look at a Bloodline, etc., etc. If you had done that with the Hurt Business, they could have ran on top, or at least had an amazing run for probably 2+ years. I think there was that many stories to tell, and they just had such a cool factor to them, and cool factor in professional wrestling is really important. So I think that's all you need to do. So if it's a New Japan, if it's a TNA, if it's an AEW, if it's something I'm not even thinking about right now, you just bring them in, and once again, you don't overthink this.
WWE really did drop the ball on this one. The Hurt Business was over as fuck. Look no further than Twitter. Go ahead and scroll. Bobby Lashley was trending this morning. Scroll through that and you're going to see an outpouring of love for both Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Business. The Hurt Business as a faction in wrestling was over as fuck, and it had more legs to go. It was cut short. They did not do, look, we've got 4 years of the goddamn Bloodline. What do we get, 4 months of the Hurt Business? First of all, MVP is a fantastic manager. I liked MVP when he was a wrestler. He was one of my favorites back then. His match with Chris Benoit proved that he could work in the ring like a motherfucker. He could go. He had a fantastic reign as the United States champion. I loved what they were doing with MVP back in the day. He had the tunnel that, remember, he came out of the tunnel and he had the pyro and stuff. It was good shit. It was good shit. But he makes an even better manager than a wrestler, in my opinion. He fits with Bobby Lashley so well because Bobby is a fine talker and a fine personality, but he needs that manager, that type of manager, that MVP, Bobby Lashley. They just fit so well together. Add in the fact that Shelton Benjamin is still out there, that he can still go. Bring in another young guy. You want to make it 4, right? You got to make it a 4-factor. Bring in another tag team. Bring in somebody that you can give the rub to, because, you know, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, as good as they are older. So that faction could really benefit from having another younger talent or a couple younger talents within the ranks. And, you know, hopefully they see better opportunity out there. I think it's a no-brainer to sign the Hurt Business, at least Bobby Lashley and MVP. But, I'd bring them in, and then in a couple weeks I would bring in Shelton Benjamin, and then in a couple weeks after that, or within a week or so after that, have them recruit somebody already off your active roster wherever you are to add to that business, right? Whatever I don't think you can call it the Hurt Business anymore. But let's say, you have Bobby Lashley debut along with MVP as his manager. They come out, they say that they're going to continue to do big business here, just like they did in other places, and it starts this week. Then next week or the week after, they introduce Shelton Benjamin, the newest member of the faction. And you just keep growing and you do it from there. You can do it in AEW, sure. You could do it in TNA. You could do it in New Japan. Any of these places are fine. Just have that faction together again, and they will be able to do some incredible shit. Now, the writing has to work with it, right? We've seen from WWE that if you book it like shit, it's not going to get over as well. There was that controversy a couple weeks ago of MVP criticizing Triple H of the way that he uses black people in the WWE. That he's emasculating them and just not giving much thought. And look, I've always, even with the Hurt Business, I was kind of conscientious of this. It's gone away now because I've seen, how good the Hurt Business was together and how well they got over. And look, the black community, how they looked up to figures like that. They had that strong, powerful faction at the top of the card that they could say, those are my guys. So, that's something to consider as well. But in general, I've been critical of the way that WWE and Triple H, especially right now, just has a habit of sticking all the minorities together, right? Oh, you're Mexican? Here's an LWO shirt. That was the big boy when Stephanie Vacker got signed. I couldn't tell you the amount of tweets that I saw for people saying, oh, great, she's going to be in the LWO in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that that's an actual fear is scary as fuck. That, oh, great, it's another black person. Let's add them to the faction of black people. Oh, that's great, another Mexican. Let's add them to the faction of Mexican people. There is absolutely something to be said about that. I don't necessarily think that you should be just grouping everybody together. Oh, he's black and he's black, so they should be a great team together. But there was something different with the Hurt Business. It just clicked. It just not to say that like the LWO doesn't or any other black faction in history never really worked out. I mean, it does tend to do well if it's pushed properly. But I just don't know that needs to be the go-to all the time. But the Hurt Business, I would actually put that aside. You need that faction somewhere because there was more meat on the bone. You left it on the table. WWE did not run its course with the Hurt Business. You didn't squeeze all the juice out of that, right? There's a lot more there. You can't tell me that they can still be going forward with the goddamn bloodline 4 years later, but there wasn't enough there for the Hurt Business. People were into it. It was getting Bobby Lashley over. I mean, Bobby Lashley, look at his career. This guy, low-key, one of the most accomplished wrestlers in the business. He's done some amazing shit, but he was never, like, the guy, right? He's always been... WWE always has their WWE champion, like your Cody Rhodes. And then they kind of got, like, the undercard world champion. Yeah, he's a world champion, but he's not really the world champion, right? Like Damian Priest. Poor guy, he's the world heavyweight champion. But is he, though? Is he really? It's kind of like a glorified intercontinental champion is what he really is. And that was always the case with Bobby Lashley. No matter what title he won, it just seemed like they were never really actually going with Bobby Lashley. He was just either the number 2 or number 3, or he was there to just be the guy that the number 1 comes along and beats, like Drew McIntyre or something. But he carried the pandemic, man. You have to. I would say the people that were on top during the pandemic deserve an extra pat on the back because that was a very hard era to work through. And I think for the Hurt Business to be so beloved after the time that they put into WWE, and I think for people to be clamoring for more We need more of these guys. Really, truly, it was the chemistry between the people. More even beyond, oh, here's another group of black guys. Like, it worked. You get MVP as a manager, highly underrated. I'm not going to say like, oh, he's, the greatest manager of all time or anything, but he is fantastic in that role. He wears the suit like a fucking boss, like a pimp. He's got the cane with him. He can talk like a motherfucker. MVP is one of the greatest talkers this business has seen. I'll put him up against anybody. MVP, yes, he's not like a Dusty Rhodes, baby. Not like a Ric Flair. I'm not saying he's an all-timer promo, but you certainly cannot point to MVP and go, yeah, he's okay. He can't really talk. Bullshit. Give that man a microphone and he will fucking tell you any story you want to hear. He's great. He's absolutely great. Bobby Lashley can talk. He's serviceable, but he's not that great of a promo, Putting MVP with Bobby Lashley. Both of these guys set to leave WWE. Free agency is looking fucking amazing right now. And you got Shelton Benjamin floating around out there. You could get away with just Lashley and MVP. That's acceptable. Those two need to be paired together. If you're signing Bobby Lashley, you're signing MVP as his manager. Period. End of story. That's what I would do. I don't give a fuck in this whole, ex-WWE guys. Get pulled into, if AEW were to jump on these guys, he's just another, they just signed a more ex-W. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Where else are they going to work? Every guy that comes out of anywhere is an ex-something guy. Like, that's such a stupid thing. Like, what do you expect people to do? Sit home on the couch and fucking eat Cheetos? Oh, I guess, I came from WWE. Well, AEW can't hire me because then they look like they're just hiring WWE guys. So these massive talents just have to sit and do indies the rest of their lives. No, of course AEW. And look, AEW has a problem. They're not, Swerve Strickland aside, they have not had a great track record of booking black wrestlers. They haven't had a good track record of hiring and putting prominent positions black wrestlers. They haven't had many black people on top of the card. Boy, you add a fucking Bobby Lashley and an MVP to that mix. Bring them in as a faction, even if you want to add Shelton. But I would do it exactly the way I booked it. Bring those two in to start, and then they say they're going to start to grow their business. Now, you can't call it the Hurt Business, but it could be the something business, or it could just be the business. It could be, who knows? That could be hashed out at the creative table or some shit, but that's the way you do it. Bring in Benjamin, and then, look, man, they can recruit. Private Party hasn't been doing goddamn shit fuck all in AEW. Leo Rush just got brought back to AEW. I don't know why. Why would you hire Leo Rush? He's the biggest flake in wrestling history. Him and like Low Key and there's a couple other ones. They just have such a reputation of being flaky and not being able to stick around places. But I think it's a no-brainer for some company somewhere has to bring in Bobby Lashley and MVP. Probably a good idea to rebuild the Hurt Business. Give the fans what they want. Get the people what they want. And just let it roll. See what happens with it. I'll leave it there. Pizza loving pizza. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And we'll catch you in the next video. Bro, thanks for checking out the video. You can find more great videos by hitting the subscribe button. And bro, while you're down there, hit that like button, leave a comment, and all of that other crap. Bro.